Hey everybody, today I want to go over one of the most common privilege escalation methods I see whenever I'm doing boxes on Hack the Box or VulnHub, and that is going to be exploiting setuid permissions on files. Now, in case you don't know what setuid means, it means that whenever a file is run, instead of being run with the user ID of the person who invoked it, it's going to be run with the user ID of the owner of the file. Now, that might be a little confusing with a verbal description, so let me go ahead and give you an example. So here in my home directory, I've got a bash file. I copied this directly from bin bash, and right now you can see that it is owned by root, and everybody has execute permission of it. So if we just go ahead and run this bash file, we can see we just get a new bash shell. So I can exit out of that, and we go right back to our original one. Now, notice that when I execute this shell, and I do who am I, I'm still logged in as the conda user. Well, if I go ahead and set the permissions to include setuid on this, we might get a little bit of a different result. So I'm going to go ahead and add the setuid bit here. Perfect. Now, if we go ahead and look at the file, we can see that it's turned red, and we can see that there is an S here for setuid. Now, again, what setuid does is instead of when this file is being run as whoever invoked it, it's going to be run with the UID of the owner, which is root. So in our case, if I go ahead and run this bash file now that has setuid, I'm also going to pass it the P flag for privileged mode. This means that it's going to allow the setuid bit to take over. And I run that and run who am I. We can see that we now have a root shell. So now that we've seen a simple example of how a file with setuid permissions can be exploited, let's go ahead and look at how we can go ahead and find them on a system. So there's a very simple command you can run to go ahead and find all the files on the system that you have access to see that have the setuid permission. So we can just go ahead and do find, and then the directory you want to start looking from, we're going to start with /, and then we want to look for things with the permission with 4000. Now that 4 at the beginning of the octal mode just means that the setuid bit is set. And then we're going to go ahead and just redirect standard error to /dev/null. That way we don't get a bunch of error messages on the screen for files that we don't have permission to view. So if we run that, we can see all sorts of things popping up, and all these files that this just found, these all have the setuid permission. Now, just because these files have setuid does not mean that they're necessarily exploitable. Many of these are common system files that by default have setuid permission and need setuid in order to be able to do their job. So what I would suggest doing is whatever system that you're looking to privilege escalate on, get a list of all of the default files that have setuid on them so that you can compare to it when you're looking to find these on your own. Now, there's also a website out there called GTFO bins. I'll link that down in the description, and you can go ahead and check that out. It has all sorts of ways to do privilege escalation with all sorts of different files once you find them if they have the setuid bit set.